CGB, buddy. We've done a lot of videos together. How you feeling about your overall Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge thus far?
I always want to start with, yeah, I got this, because I'm unreasonably confident by nature. And then I immediately remember what happened in the last one, the one before that, and the one before that, and the one before that. And it comes to my mind that you are going to like do this thing where it's like, make me feel nice and cozy. And then you're going to be like, by the way, here's a summoning mechanic you've never seen before that has infinitely more text and more free resources than you've ever seen in your whole life. Is it good? And I'm going to be like, yeah. And you're going to be like, yeah, it's fine.
So here's a summoning mechanic you've never seen before, has infinitely more text, and is going to break your brain by the end of it. So much so, I brought out the good stuff because I think by the end of this video, I am going to need it. So we are going to introduce you. This is a highly requested video that I have been cucking my audience for so long because they've wanted it. We're going to be showing you pendulum summoning. Do you know anything about pendulum summoning, CGB?
Nothing.
Oh, great.
Absolutely. I can't even. You have something called pendulum summoning.
No.
I have avoided the comments. I have avoided the Yu-Gi-Oh players IRL trying to tell me about their cards. I don't know what this is. I have no clue.
Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be a long video. So we kind of been going in order here. I've showed you synchro summoning. I've showed you Xyz summoning. I showed you Fusion, I showed you Ritual. Pendulum was next. This got released around 2014, 2015, I want to say. This was a brand new set. Duelist Alliance debuted the pendulum summoning mechanic. It went in line with the anime at the time, which was Arc V, like the 5th series of the entire anime. For context, I didn't watch it, so I don't know anything about it. But let's just say this was a very divisive summoning mechanic, because this is where a lot of people started to feel that Yu-Gi-Oh was no longer Yu-Gi-Oh. So much so, I'm actually going to, instead of explaining this mechanic to you, I'm going to show you a video, because I think you need a visual aid to understand how this is going to work. You can tell me to pause at any time, but from there, we're going to learn about pendulum summoning. Are you ready?
I'm more terrified because there's a video. If that helps. Sure, let's do it.
This might be familiar because you might be seeing a familiar face in this video. See,
bro, your editing's insane. Oh my God.
What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and today
look at you. You're so... Oh my gosh, you've got so much energy. Look at this face.
For context, I think this video is like 7 years old, so keep that in mind.
Oh my God.
Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. You're adorable.
Thank you.
This is so cute.
You really can see my Irish side come out here with my red beard, for sure.
Oh, you are going for it. I love this.
Oh, yeah. All right. You ready to learn about pendulum summoning?
I don't know if this is a reliable...
Today, I'm going to teach you about pendulum summoning in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pendulum monsters are identifiable by their orange and green colored card border.
So that's a pendulum card, CGB. I'm going to stop you here just to give you a bit of context. Pendulum monsters are half monster, half spell card, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
That just makes sense on its own with no context of any kind.
We're going to explain it. Don't worry. 7-year-old Cimo will explain it to you.
Pendulum monsters are played in the main deck and boast a variety of unique characteristics that we're going to cover in depth. Let's start by examining the pendulum monster cards themselves. Pendulum monsters can be used 2 different ways, either as a monster card by playing it in the main monster zone, or as a spell card by playing it in the pendulum zone.
Okay, you got that? Still with us?
It's got its own zone. And that's different from where you can play spells and traps? Or is it
so it is the same zone. You can it's either or. So you see that there's 2 pendulum zones, one on the far left, one on the far right. Those are either spell and trap zones. They are still considered spell and trap zones.
Is that the pink diamond then? Is that what you're talking about as the zone?
There's a blue the blue diamond's under the card here, and then the pink diamond or the red diamond is over here. Those are your pendulum zones, if you will.
And was this new at the time?
That's just come out, essentially.
Okay, so there was no pendulum zone before, but like before pendulums, was this where you put spell and trap cards?
Correct, and you can still put spell and trap cards there if you're not playing pendulums.
Okay,
right?
Okay.
I will divulge something much later on, but we're not going to get into it for the sake of this right now. I'm trying to keep it simple.
While not in a pendulum zone, a pendulum monster is treated as a monster card and has its monster effects applied.
Got that?
Yeah, I was too busy listening to your totally hype music. Something about monster effects.
So when the pendulum monster is in the monster zone, okay, you treat it like any other monster card I've shown you, where the bottom box that has its effect, that is what is applied.
That is the text box we care about.
Correct. If it is in the pendulum zone, and I'm going to say this right after this in the video, you apply the upper text box, and the bottom text box is not being applied.
Okay. This applies to when a pendulum monster is in the main deck or sent to the graveyard as well, meaning pendulum monsters can be searched with cards like Reinforcement of the Army and special summon from the hand or deck, just like any other normal or effect monster. However, when a pendulum monster is in a pendulum zone, it is treated as a spell card. While in the pendulum zone, its pendulum effects are applied and its monster effects are not. Also note that the pendulum monster's scale is also active while in the pendulum zone.
Okay, so that's called a pendulum scale. The numbers on the left and right.
I have no idea what that means yet, but is past Cimo going to tell me? Is young Cimo going to bring me up to scale?
This is important for pendulum summoning, which we'll cover a bit
Funny
later.
You should ask,
Some other
CGP.
important notes about the pendulum zones is that as long as there is an available zone, a pendulum monster can be played there anytime you would activate a normal spell card, typically during main phase 1 or main phase 2. You cannot play one pendulum monster over another in the pendulum zone, and you also cannot set pendulum monsters in the pendulum zone as well. One unique aspect about pendulum monsters is that if they would be sent from the field to the graveyard, either as a monster card or a spell card, rather than being sent to the graveyard, it is placed face up in the extra deck instead.
Got that?
What? So if it's a spell card and it would be destroyed, it goes to the extra deck? Or no, the monsters. Either. Okay.
If it's either. So if it's a monster or if it's in the pendulum scale, instead of going to the graveyard like every other card in Yu-Gi-Oh does, it goes face up in your extra deck. And there's a reason for that we'll get into momentarily. But so you following still?
I love this
Everything's
young Cimo,
still
guys.
easily digestible?
It gives me full context about everything that we're talking about. Like, really straightforward, totally get it. I think I'm going to subscribe to this one.
This contributes to the pendulum summoning mechanic itself, which we'll be covering in a little bit. However, if a pendulum monster would be sent from anywhere other than the field to the graveyard, it is sent to the graveyard instead.
So, got that. So if it's not going from the field, so for instance, like if you're discarding it to the graveyard, in that case, it would go to the graveyard because it's not on the field. Or milling it, correct, which I'll bring that up in a moment here.
Some examples of this would be if you used a pendulum monster as a discard cost to activate another card effect, or if you sent a pendulum monster directly from the deck to the graveyard. On that note, if a card like Macrocosmos is active on the field, it would override game mechanics, and any pendulum monster sent to either the graveyard or extra deck would be banished instead. Now let's move on to pendulum summoning. To perform a pendulum summon, you are required to have 2 pendulum monsters in your pendulum zone with different scales.
Okay, got it so far.
So the pendulum zone was either or? It can be a monster or a spell in that zone? Or just a spell?
So when it's in the pendulum zone, it is considered a spell. So you only apply the upper text box. Correct.
Okay.
And this is also when the pendulum scale is in effect here. And so these numbers are always the same. And the order, like, you don't have to put the low number on the left, the high number on the right. You don't have to do that. You can just simply, it can be either way. That doesn't matter. As long as you want to have different scales, like you want different numbers, and I'll get into why that is momentarily. You still with us?
So when young Cimo says 2 pendulum monsters in the pendulum zone, what is also implied there is that they are spells in the pendulum zone, even though they're called pendulum monsters.
Correct.
Notice the scale number for each of your pendulum monsters. This number correlates directly with the levels of monsters in your hand, and also pendulum monsters face up in your extra deck.
Got that?
The level of monsters in your hand.
So if it'll make sense here momentarily, but basically you're trying to get numbers that are bigger, or a range that's bigger, I should say, so that these numbers up here, this is a level 4, this is a level 7, that these will fit within that range. And you'll see momentarily why that matters. Does that make sense?
I guess I think I'll understand when I see more, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a 1.
It'll make
but now
sense
I
in a moment. Here
understand
we
that
go.
the difference between the two is what's important.
By having
Yes,
pendulum
correct.
monsters in your pendulum zones with 2 different scales, you are able to perform a pendulum summon. For example, if you have one pendulum monster with a scale of 1 and another pendulum monster with a scale of 8, you are allowed to summon any number of monsters from your hand and or face up in your extra deck whose levels are between 2 and 7.
That makes sense.
Does it have to be a pendulum monster?
No, it does not. And I will showcase that here.
Any monster?
Any monster between levels, the 2 scales, you are allowed to pendulum summon.
Any number from extra deck or hand?
Yep.
For free?
For free, buddy.
What is happening? Okay, go. Roll it.
Performing a pendulum summon, simply declare that you're going to pendulum summon. You are allowed to pendulum summon any number of monsters from your hand as you would like to your main monster zones, assuming their levels are between the scales you currently have placed in your pendulum zones. Now, with the introduction of link monsters and link summoning, if you're wanting to pendulum summon pendulum monsters from your extra deck, just like with any monster being special summoned from the extra deck, those pendulum monsters need to be summoned to the extra monster zone.
Okay, so does this all make sense? When you pendulum summon, you just say, just like you would take any action of like activating a spell or like activating a card or whatever, you just say you are going to perform a pendulum summon. So it's an extra summon that if you are playing pendulums, you are allowed to take in addition to like a normal summon or any of the other special summons, even though pendulum summons are still considered special summons.
I have a question.
Okay.
You get one of these per turn and you pick all the things that you get, or do you perform them one by one? Is each one a unique pendulum summon?
You get 1 pendulum summon per turn, and you have to dump everything in that pendulum summon. So you could pendulum summon 1 monster, you could pendulum summon 6. It's up to you.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Do you choose the order that they enter, or do they just all go blah onto the field at once?
They all go blah onto the field at once. And so there are cards that say, like, when a monster is summoned, you can destroy all monsters on the field. So, like, that would destroy everything, right? So there are, like, ways to interact with everything hitting the field at once.
Okay, this sounds so much. Okay.
You good? You still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I
Okay.
exist. I'm a shell of a human, but I'm here.
Good. It's good. So that's pendulum summoning. So now that we are way past the point where we're going to hit ad revenue, and the fact that I'm not completely drunk yet, we are going to show you some cards that are pendulum monsters, and you have to evaluate if these cards ever got banned or not. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, let's do it. Do we get any more appearances from young Simo in the video?
Young Simo is
Simo
is gone. Young Simo
all
is
right.
gone. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah, that's sad. I was really enjoying it.
We're going to start with the first one, which you saw in the video, as a matter of fact. I think this is a great place to start.
Wow, the color actually looks insanely different from the image pulled off the website that is maintained, as I understand.
That's because that video is 7 years old and this card has been reprinted, so that's probably why.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, how much different can the colors be? So this is the Archfiend Eccentric, and it is a level 3, 800 attack, 1000 defense monster. Okay, let's learn how to say pendulum things. Do you start with reading the spell box or the monster box?
Either one. You can go just like in
Okay.
descending order. So you can start with the pendulum effect, is what we call it, and you can
Sure.
say it's a scale 7 as well. That's
Sure.
relevant.
It's a level 3, 800 attack, 1000 defense, scale 7 pendulum card. And it's
Yep.
the pendulum box says you can target one other spell trap on the field, destroy both it and this card. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn.
Okay.
And that's a hard once per turn?
That is a hard once per turn.
I
Correct.
always
You're
have to
learning.
double check that I remember this correctly. Okay.
Correct.
And it is a fiend, and says you can tribute this card, then target one monster on the field and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. Okay.
So while it's in the pendulum scale, you can destroy it to be able to destroy a spell or trap your opponent controls. Or if it's in your monster zone, you can tribute it and destroy a monster that they control.
Yeah, it's versatile removal, depending where you put it. That's fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's totally fine. But
It's fine, right? fine.
What I'm getting from the video is that you put this on one side in the pendulum zone, and you put something with, say, a 1 on the scale in the other pendulum zone. And once you've done that, you can summon any number of monsters.
Correct.
From the extra deck. Can't your extra deck have like 15 monsters?
So you're only summoning monsters from your hand, and only the face-up pendulum monsters that are in your extra deck at that moment. Yeah, you don't get to vomit your whole extra deck onto the... Yeah. Should have clarified
that would have been a question for young Cimo. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That helps a lot. I was wondering about that. Only the one that's... But see that... Okay. Since you do it once a turn, the thing that's face up in your extra deck right now is the thing you can do. And then is there a new card that's face up when you summon that card that you can do the next turn? Is that how the extra deck summoning works?
You can pick any of your face-up pendulum monsters in your extra deck to pendulum summon.
Do they start the game face up?
They don't start the game face up. They're in your main deck, so they will eventually make their way. For instance, Archfiend Eccentric, you play it, pop a spell and itself. Now it's in the extra deck. So now you can.
Okay.
You starting to get it?
That's right.
You starting to get it?
That's right. Yeah, it's are there cards that start in your extra deck that are pendulum summons?
No.
Okay. So it really is like you want to pop this from as a creature or from the battlefield as either one, and it goes to the extra deck face up. And then you can summon it from the extra deck if you have the scales.
Correct. Now you're learning. So it's more than just removal, it's recurring removal.
That's nice. That's fair and balanced.
It's fair and balanced, right?
Along with what's in your hand. Blah. And that can be any number
hypothetically, you could bring out Archfiend Eccentric. That will go to your extra monster zone. Remember, you can only place one monster there. So you'd have to pick if you had multiple things in your extra deck. But anything else in your hand, you have 5 main monster zones. You can vomit them all out if you want.
I imagine 7 is reasonably high. Not the highest, but pretty
For
high.
A scale, I will agree. Scale 7 is a good scale number to have.
Yeah, you can get good 7s. For free, all at once.
Well, you can't get 7s. It has to be either lower, so it would have to be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, depending on where your low scale is. Or you can go higher. So if you have a scale 7, you could pendulum summon level 8s or level 9s or level 10s potentially. It cannot be the number on the scale. It's in between.
All right, yeah, less than or greater than, not less than equal.
Depending on whatever the other scale number you have is. Correct.
I'm supposed to say if this is good and if it was ever banned.
Correct. I mean, you can do both. You can evaluate both.
Oh no.
Can you see why many people wanted to quit when this mechanic got announced?
Can I see why many people wanted to quit?
It's just so much information overload.
Yes, it's a lot. It's really a lot. And immediately I looked at this and tried to think of like the many different split cards and front and back cards that Magic has done.
This is like split cards done poorly, in my opinion.
You think so? Yeah. We have like adventure cards are really popular in Magic, and they are basically half the text box is a spell and the other half the text box is a creature, and you can cast one. If you cast a spell, it goes to the adventure zone, and from the adventure zone, you can cast it as a creature if you resolve the spell. So it's 2 cards in one, right? Or you can just cast the creature if you want to. Like those, people like those. Love them. Didn't cause any issues in Magic. Front and back cards, you flip the card over and it has a different effect because you did something on the front card to get the other side. Like, people love those. Magic loves those. For me, the thing that's like, what, the, where, the, how, the, why is the scales. Like, now it's like, wait a minute, this isn't just a self-contained thing with this card or a type of card. Now this is a new way to get everything.
This was a very divisive mechanic, still is. You will find out throughout the course of this video, I am very anti-pendulum. I have never been a fan of this archetype, or not even archetype, this summoning mechanic, solely because I feel like it's just, one, it's information overload. It's insane complexity creep, and I feel like it just takes so much of, like, think about some of the other summoning mechanics I showed you. Like, think synchro summoning. You add up the levels, one of them's a tuner, you play a guy, right? Xyz monsters, they have the same level, you slap them on each other, you play a guy. I just showed you, we literally had to take the first 10 minutes of this video showing you like how this works. And even then you still don't fully understand how it works. The cards just interact in a way that are just so different from everything else. Cause it's like, they don't go to the graveyard, they go to the extra deck, but sometimes they go to the graveyard depending on where they go. And like, there's just so many like exceptions and things that like mechanically you have to understand about them that I feel like it's just so frustrating compared to like just other Yu-Gi-Oh mechanics in general. That there's a reason why a lot of people quit during this time, because they saw that this is the direction the game was going. They were pushing for these cards to be busted as hell, potentially. And yeah, so it's, like I said, it's a very controversial mechanic for sure.
When you, so this might be important or it might be stupid.
Uh-huh.
When you do the pendulum summoning, does it get around other costs for other cards that say things like this can only be special summoned and would normally require other things to summon it? Like tuners or XZs or like things like that. Can you play those with this and get all the benefits without the costs?
Yes, as long as the card doesn't say this cannot be special summoned or this can only be special summoned via X method. So any card in the game with a level is fair game at that point.
Okay.
Because we needed more ways to cheat stuff out for free, right?
Sure. Because part of me is like, maybe it's not as big a deal as I think because everything's free anyway. But then it's like, no, there's a bunch of these summonings that have very special requirements. And that's supposed to be like the limiting, like the guardrails, unquote. And this can break all of those if the card isn't worded a certain way.
For synchro summoning, XC summoning, like you're not pendulum summoning those out, right? But, you know, you get a bunch of guys on the field. You can pendulum out tuners. You can pendulum out cards of the same level. So you can then make your synchro monsters, make your Xyz monsters, and you have so much material that the world is your oyster at that point.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I already hate it. I usually hate it.
Yes, we got him.
Like 80% of these videos, I walk in and you show me something and I hate it immediately by nature. That's just part of the dynamic around here.
Unless it has to do drawing cards.
Sometimes you guys bring me around. Sometimes you bring me around.
Or I show you Masterpiece. That's all it takes.
Sure. Yeah, that's stuff like that, right? Like it's kind of like you're trying to win over a hostile audience in these videos as it is.
Oh, this one will do the opposite. And I fully realize that is the case.
Oh my God, yeah. This is immediately I hate it. Like I don't want it to be good. I don't want to have to track this. I don't want to have to think about this. I don't want to have to build a deck around this. Like there are cards that come out in Magic the Gathering that I'm just like, I could see that it's good, but I don't want to build that.
Yep.
That's going to break my brain and I'm going to get nothing.
Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel. Like you see it's good, but even then you're like, I don't want to play it. It's just like, ugh. That's the feeling a lot of people share.
And I'm trying to think about, is there a world where it's not as good as we think it is? And I think like the scales, it's like, is it easy to access the scales without the cards that you're playing being trash? I'm guessing in every other video we've done that is related to a mechanic, the answer has always been no. So I'm going to assume that this stuff just sentiment. Works.
Yep.
That they actually push this from the get-go. And every time they push something from the get-go, it's not fine. So immediately looking at this very first one that sets you in a tuning range and is removal and is repeatable removal and is already a hated mechanic. I mean, when you tell me it's fine, it's going to be because things didn't turn out to be as good. I do feel like this is bordering on Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 and everything is like removal on removal that gets removal.
This is definitely where a lot of people feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 started, I want to say.
What I see is annoying, and then the levels to it imply that things could be broken. But this card on its own without other context seems like a Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 card, and I need to see more. So I hate it. I wouldn't be surprised if it were restricted. I'm actually going to... I hate myself. I'm going to start with a not banned, but it's because maybe I still need to see more to really get it.
You're going to let the repeatable removal run. Okay. Final answer?
Yeah.
Archmage Eccentric is a fantastic card. I mean, you can pop anything with it, just depending on where you place it. You can just keep pendulum summoning it back over and over again, as long as you have something that's a 1 or a 2 scale, or a 0 scale, I guess, because that does exist. As long as you're able to just keep bringing it back out over and over again, you just get to pop a card for free. It goes back to the extra deck after it pops itself. So next turn, you just bring it back out, do it again, right? But you're right. This card's totally fine. This card's fine. It saw play. It was never like oppressive. Some decks, funny enough, actually that weren't even pendulum decks would play eccentric just because of the versatile removal that it offered. Because there wasn't really a card that could pop either a monster or a spell and trap. That didn't come out around like very frequently, I want to say. More common in Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 that came around. But just a very flexible card. And it was good. It saw like plenty of play in like main decks and side decks, but it was fine. Like this is... It's just a good card, but it saw play in some decks, and that's it. Like, it was fine. So you were correct. You were correct. You started off after 4,000 years. You got your first one correct. Congratulations.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you have no idea how much I wanted this one. I can't believe I'm to the point with your game where just nonstop repeatable removal is totally fine. Like,
speaking of which...
Nope. Magispector?
There you go. Right on the money. Half point.
Magispector Unicorn Kirin is a level 6 wind with 2,000 attack, 2,000 defense. It has the God,
scale.
I just did this. How did the scale? Its scale is 2. Sure. And it says during either player's turn, you can target one pendulum monster in your monster zone and one monster your opponent controls. Return them to the hands. You can only use this effect once per turn. Cannot be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's cards or effects.
And notably, the Magispectors, the entire archetype, for the most part, the entire archetype, they got some newer support. The Magispectors notably do not have effects in the pendulum zone. So the scale is still relevant, of course, but they don't have effects while they're in that zone. So that's just less text for you to read. So you're welcome.
Thank you. So when you put this in that zone, it's literally doing nothing but providing the scale.
Correct.
During either player's turn, you can target one monster in your zone. So if you play it as a scale, you can't. Can it bounce itself? Hold on. If you play it as a monster, you can target one monster in your monster zone. So if you play this in the monster zone and you're not using it for the scale, it can bounce itself. Or you have multiple copies. Yeah, and you bounce an opponent's thing. And you can use this once per turn. Welcome. It is very blue. Is it either turn? Either turn? Either turn? Like, and you can just play it again. Like, what? Oh my God, that's annoying. And and you cheat this out using the scales. Like, if you have a 1 scale and a 7 scale and this comes out and you do that, if they actually do destroy it somehow, you get it again. I
will also help you out a bit. Anytime you're evaluating a card and it's in a different archetype, so this is like in the Magispector archetype, assume that archetype has like scales built into their monsters that are supposed to pendulum these monsters out to the field. So in this case, like, you're not seeing a high scale here, but like you saw eccentric, it's a 7. That's generic. You can play that in anything, obviously. But assume that there are like Magispector, monsters that have a high enough scale to just bring this out to the field.
Oh my God. This one gives me a bit of a reaction.
I was about to say, you did get a reaction out of this one.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you would have loved to play with this card.
I have an appreciation for bounce. I think I've talked about that. I think it was on one of your videos.
I never would have guessed.
I was really give me a bounce spell and I'll give you a win in a limited format, a commander game, whatever. Just give me a bad bounce spell. I'm ready. The reason I'm having this reaction is because in Magic in the last several months, a self-bounce deck has become so good in Standard. It doesn't just bounce the opponent's stuff, it bounces its own stuff at the same time. And the stuff enters and creates more value and creates loops. And it's a problem. And this immediately, I'm like, this is better than a lot of the cards in that deck. It's
and we're in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Can't be targeted. It can't be targeted.
It's indestructible and hexproof. How do you like that?
Yeah, because part of me was like, okay, you just keep bouncing this to your hand, which of course can be really good and is a lot of versatility, but leaving this on the field isn't particularly risky either. So you can just bounce something else that does something else amazing next turn or protects something else from what could happen on the opponent's turn. Yeah, it can still be attacked, right? Or attacked through.
Yeah,
because,
you can still attack it. Yeah.
All right.
It's indestructible in our games. It cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. It can still be killed by battle. That would be a separate phrase.
But how does somebody get to do that whenever everything just keeps getting bounced.
Very funny you ask that. What a great question.
Oh, I hate it. Something about this is much more annoying. It's much more annoying. It also has much better just punch you in the face stats.
It's a quarter of your opponent's life, yeah.
Yeah, it actually chonks you. The other card did not really take a bite out of you like this thing does.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm sure there might be loops or combos that just let this go on forever and make every turn so much worse. I hate this card a lot more. Was it banned? Let's see. We're still in Yu-Gi-Oh! 2.
Yeah, like I said, we're in Yu-Gi-Oh! 2. Like, I think a lot of people would agree Pendulum's the turning point for Yu-Gi-Oh! 2.
It has so many red flags. It can't be targeted, right? That's disgusting. It can be done on either player's turn. In multiples, it's insane. It does have that hard once per turn, but it is each player's turn, which is so painful. And there is the frustrating pattern of going back, forth, and now you add into it the scale thing where it can just get cast out of the extra deck again if they ever do anything about it. I think there's a much higher chance of this getting banned.
Okay.
Am I ready to take that step in Yu-Gi-Oh!
I was about to
2?
say, or is Yu-Gi-Oh! That crazy that this card is actually just fine?
This card turns my stomach. I'm gonna make you guys show me where the line is.
Okay.
Because I don't trust my stomach on these. I don't trust my gut.
What's your
this
gut
is too
say?
crazy. My gut says get this the hell out of any game. Get it away from anybody with human decency. But I'm gonna make you prove it to me. I'm gonna say not banned.
Final answer?
Yeah.
You're correct. It's at 3.
Oh my God.
After being banned for several years. Fuck this card.
Okay. I'm actually kind of happy about that. I'm not even mad.
You shouldn't be.
Okay.
You shouldn't be.
Okay.
Kirin is a
God.
menace. For context, the entire Magispector archetype has indestructible and hexproof, which is even more annoying. The only real limiter on this card is the fact that it can only use the effect once because it is a hard once per turn. But that doesn't matter because you can play 3 copies of this and pendulum summon multiple, bounce something on your turn, use the other Kirin to bounce something on the opponent's turn if you have to. And then if anything happens, you just pendulum summon the Kirin out and it's like you're back to square one. This thing is so frustrating to play against, especially because anything from the extra deck that gets summoned, so a Synchro monster, an Xyz monster, those go back to the extra deck, right? That's like per game mechanics. That's how bouncing works with those types. So you commit the resources into it. They just bring out Kirin and just bounce it back. Great. We're back to square one. Very, very frustrating card to play against. Also, you can just tribute summon Kirin. Like, so if you pendulum summon a bunch of guys, you can just use one of those guys to tribute at the Kirin because it is level 6. So you don't even have to pendulum summon it out. Like, I mean, that's free and you want to do that. But in worst case scenario, you can just bring him out the old-fashioned way, and that's totally fine. But, yep, card was banned for a long time. It's back at 3. They released new Magispector support relatively recently, so I think they wanted to, make a little financial move on the ban list and bring its best card back to the format. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I think this card is probably fine. It's annoying, but like there's so many better things nowadays that it's crazy to think that a card like this isn't nearly as good as it used to be. But still a menace and still a card that people absolutely despise playing against because fuck this card. It's so irritating to play against. If you're the one playing it, you're on top of the world because it's crazy. Also, fun fact, you can bounce your other pendulum monsters that have like effects when they, for instance, enter the battlefield or like on summon. So there's another Magispector, Bumbuku, it's a little raccoon. He has the effect that when he's summoned, you get to add any Magispector monster from your deck to your hand. So you could Kirin bounce the Bumbuku, and the next turn resummon the Bumbuku and get another search. So like you can actually just get more resources off of it while simultaneously setting your opponent back. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Wow. Well, I don't know if you want to continue the series, buddy. We could wrap it right here. I think I'm just going to say everything's unbanned from now on.
Well, let's just say that's only the beginning, my friend. Let's just say that is only the beginning. Let's see what you think about this guy.
What the heck is this dude? Okay. Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer, is a level 4 light monster with 18 fiddy attack and 0 defense. Had to get the fiddy in there, huh? Mm-hmm. This has scale of 5, and it says once per turn, if you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you can destroy that card, and if you do, add 1 card from your deck to your hand with the same name as that card.
I'll also help you out. you can ignore the monster effect for the most part. It is a tuner, which is something that you can take note of. So you can make synchro monsters with it. But its monster effect is you can only summon Draco Slayer monsters with it from the extra deck. So I will say the Draco Slayer monsters in the extra deck are very good. But for the most part, you can evaluate this card just based off of its pendulum effect here.
So it's going in the scale zone most of the time.
Correct. Yes.
Once per turn, if you have a card in your other pendulum zone, you can destroy that card. And if you do, add 1 card to your deck to hand with the same name.
I'll even be nice. I'll show you one of the things
I was gonna say. I'll
give you the full context. So there's multiple. I'm gonna show you the best of the bunch. They're all good for their own reasons, but this one is by far and away the best one. You know how synchro monsters work, so this should make sense to you.
Yep. If this is Robin, let's see who Batman is. Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer. Some high level. 28 50 attack. This is where power creep really became too much with the 50, you know.
Fun fact, there's the whole archetype, the whole gimmick is that they have like 50 more attack than like everything. That was actually very relevant back in the day.
Wow. Yep, 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner pendulum monsters is the synchro summoning effect. Once per turn, you can target 1 pendulum monster on the field or 1 pendulum monster in the pendulum zone and destroy it. And if you do, shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck. Once per turn, you can special summon 1 Draco Slayer monster from your deck in defense position, but it cannot be used as material for a synchro summon. Do I have to know what it's the Draco Slayer monster is this?
Correct. There are a couple others, but this is the best one. And they have that restriction there because they don't want you summoning multiple Ignister Prominence. You'd be summoning the other Dracos. The one's an Xyz monster, one's a fusion. They all have like the restriction to like only let you summon like, or not summon like multiple copies. That's why that's there. And the other ones are like fine. Like this is by far and away the best one.
This is getting so far away from like stuff I think I'm any good at whatsoever.
Oh, for sure. Why do you think people have been waiting so long for me to show you this?
Oh my god. So I love like examining cards within like certain card pools or contexts. The more you get into, well, this just gets you a thing that gets you another thing while doing this and doing another thing, and then it's like, okay, I need to know the other thing, and they're like, this does the other thing though, and this does that thing, and this goes and gets that thing. It's like, okay, but then you get that thing. The more I get into that, the more I'm just like, okay. Pull it together.
I mean, people laugh at Yu-Gi-Oh
players,
but this is why we have flow charts.
You're not wrong. I mean, I imagine that's actually content in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, no, it is 100%.
You can target 1 monster on the field and 1 card in the zone, destroy it, or 1 card in the zone. So are you? It's like, which order? What came first, the chicken or the egg? What the hell are we doing here? If you have a card in your other zone, you can destroy that card. If you do, add 1 card from deck to hand with the same name. This doesn't go in the zone though. In the pendulum zone. The Ignister Prominence doesn't go in the pendulum zone, right?
No, he's in your extra deck, and when you want to summon him out, you just bring him out to the monster zone. When you have their materials, obviously.
When you have the scale?
No, this is a synchro summon. So this is where Luster Pendulum being a tuner is important, because you just use him and any other level 4 or any other additional stars, and that's how you would make him. So like I said earlier, when you can vomit out your hand, you could pendulum summon a Luster Pendulum and another level 4 and a bunch of other stuff, and then synchro those into Ignister Prominence.
And okay, if this is in like the scale zone, can it still be used as a tuner?
While it is in the scale, no. It has to be in the monster, because that's in the monster text box. So it's only a tuner when it's in the monster zone. Because it's not even a monster.
That's what I thought.
Yep, you're right.
I mean, so now that's just throwing me off, because I'm like, okay, it's one or the other, but you want it like in the scale zone so that when you destroy something else that's in the scale zone, that you go get the thing that's the thing again. And when you get this thing, then you also blow up. I shuffle it once per turn. You can special summon 1 monster from the deck, and then you get another monster. Like killing this gets that plus another thing. I mean, I can't say I get it. I just know there's a lot of it. I can't imagine the whole chain.
Well, you're just
I just know
evaluating
it's
luster
big.
here in a vacuum anyway. I just showed you ignister just so you have like some context of like a bigger thing you can go into.
So, okay, it's my understanding now that I can turn something into a thing that also blows up another something while tutoring another something. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that sounds right. That sounds right.
So this one card just on the surface very achievably is like 2 more cards and a dead thing.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And you know what's really frustrating, dude?
Sure.
You know what's
enlighten
really
us.
frustrating? I don't even know if this is unique to the game. If this is just what everything is all the time. Because that's the impression I get.
I will help you out. We're obviously evaluating this if it's ever been banned. When Luster Pendulum was one of the first Pendulum monsters to hit the game, I would say he's a bit unique early on of being able to have this sort of effect. So later on, we got more things that did it, but early on, he was one of the only, if not the best thing at doing this.
I'm picturing like the dragons, right, that you use as materials, and then you just get another dragon that does exactly what you need it to do, and then you get something else. And whatever that other mechanic was that was all tied together by that one tutor that tutored and did a tutor. It's So it's weird that something like this, it's terrifying to me and doesn't seem that weird. It seems like this is just what we do here.
That's what we do here. That's
But I'm guessing that like there was something built into the whole pendulum that made it even more. It was like it's what happened before, but more so. Do I believe that they released a totally balanced mechanic from the top that did this kind of tutoring value loopy stuff, and that they got it perfectly right and never had to ban it? That's a good question to ask oneself.
What a great question, CGB. What a great question.
No, I don't believe it. Ban it at some
Final
point.
answer. So Luster's crazy. So basically, remember that card draw in Yu-Gi-Oh is very few and far between. Luster Pendulum is like card draw with an extra step. Basically, you can use Luster and you can use any other pendulum, right? You could use Kirin as an example, okay? You could scale Luster, scale Kirin. Luster would destroy the Kirin, sending it to the extra deck, which means you could add another copy of Kirin to your hand. Now, as long as you had a 7 or higher scale to complement Luster Pendulum, you can now pendulum summon both of those Kirins minimum and anything else that's within the level range out to the field, right? That's just like a very basic example of something you can do with Luster. So essentially, it's getting you an extra card, but it goes to your extra deck first, and then when you pendulum summon it, it's like you get the full value out of it. Not to mention, since you're playing pendulum, it just infinitely recurs, right? Unless your opponent like banishes it or has another way to get it like off the field, it's just gonna never stop, just summoning out to the board as long as they have their pendulum scales. So as a result, Luster was extremely powerful because it was basically just a tutor for any pendulum monster in the game. But it was never banned. It was never banned. It was limited to a singular copy. Ignister Prominence was also limited to a singular copy because he was very powerful. He's basically generic for any pendulum deck because he doesn't require Luster Pendulum exactly. He just needs a non-tuner pendulum monster. So he also got limited. But both these cards very powerful, but not ban-worthy. Not ban-worthy.
Should have stuck to the just nothing got banned, everything's broken, so
you did
nothing
say
is
Kirin
broken.
was going to set the tone for you, but then you backed off your guns.
I kind of did. I didn't want to vomit at reading that card. I just didn't want to play.
That's how a lot of people felt. That's how a lot of people felt.
So this is like some popcorn chicken gone wrong. That's
It's an
what
ice
I'm
cream
seeing.
cone.
Yeah, oh, it is?
I mean, that's
I
what
did not-
we call it, the ice cream cone.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of like the meat snacks they sell, like the big outdoor food markets, like in Europe and stuff. All right. Anyway, here we go. I get to read a new card. That's great.
He's so cute,
Performage. Performage. Plush fire. Sounds cute.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Level 4
Look at his little happy
fire.
face.
I probably don't want to put smoking on your children's card game, but whatever.
Well, anytime they do, they censor it when it comes to the States, but that's a different story. Ooh, that'd be a fun video. Can CGB identify the censored Yu-Gi-Oh cards? Ooh, maybe we should do that. That'd be fun. What do you think, comments?
God.
Anyway, sorry, I'm distracting you.
Attack is 1,000. Defense is 1,000. Scale is 5. The pendulum part says if a Performage monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your Pendulum zone, then take 500 damage. You can only use the effect of this once per turn. If a Performage monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card. Are there a lot of this type? This is an archetype?
Performage, there's a lot of Performages, yes.
Okay. And then the monster effect, I guess we'd say, is if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a monster from hand or deck, except for this. So if you play this as a monster and it goes something smashes into it, or it smashes into something, you go get a Performage monster from the hand or deck onto the field.
Maybe I showed you another card this combos with just a few minutes ago.
Did you? Performage? Where's the Performage part?
It's not a Performage.
It's just because it's fire? Does it say fire? Let me see.
Give Luster another read. Give Luster another read.
I don't want to. Okay, fine. Cannot special summon Fusion, Synchro, or XYZ monsters using this card's material except Draco Slayer monsters. Once per turn with the Pendulum zone, you can destroy that card if you do. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you have Luster on one side of the scale, and if you want, you can pop this. That's really funny, because if they're both down there, you can't use them to summon anything, but then you just use the effect to pop this, and then you search your library, you search your deck for... This is control. If this were... Okay, so you'd want to place this as a monster, and then you pop... No, because that destroys something else in the scale zone. What am I doing here?
I'll help you out a bit. If you destroy Plush Fire with Luster Pendulum, the monster effect triggers in the extra deck.
It triggers in the extra deck.
It's face up in the extra deck. That effect, the monster effect will trigger because it's considered a monster.
Oh, okay. So this can be placed in the scale, but if it's destroyed and goes to the extra deck, you get the monster death effect?
Yep.
That is not something that would happen in Magic. Not at all. That is your rules? How does that make any sense? It wasn't a monster. Why would you get that? What? That doesn't make any sense.
You're telling me, buddy. You're telling me.
What are they doing? Was somebody just like, well, I guess I want extra from my extra deck experience? That's crazy. If this didn't go to the extra deck, if it went to the cemetery, like, you wouldn't get that, would you? Or do you? You would.
You trigger in the graveyard.
So it's a monster in the graveyard or extra deck, and because of that, you get the effect when it joins it, even though it wasn't a monster as it was leaving the battlefield or on the battlefield?
Correct.
I'm sorry. I have rule the lawyer's objections going on here. That pisses me off.
You don't think we felt similarly? You don't think we felt similarly, like how bullshit all this sounds? Like, it's just like they just decide when things work the way they want to. It's so annoying.
Is there a young Cimo video that can explain this to me? He seemed like a nice, reasonable, energetic, young, like, I bet he could make sense of this, right? Did he make sense of this? Oh my God. This makes no damn sense. So this was new to you guys too when this happened?
Yes, like, we had to understand that, like, this is how mechanically these cards worked. And again, there's like a huge learning curve, and you'd run into people who didn't understand how they worked. So then you have to be like the bad guy to explain, oh, sorry, this is how it works. And that got people even more infuriated. And so, yep, that's how it went.
I honestly feel a little vindicated. I was sitting here tearing my brain cells apart, smashing them off each other, but like, no, if you do that, there's no way you also get that. That makes no sense. That makes no sense.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy? Isn't the balancing of a card like this, like, I'm not much of a like rail on design guy. I really don't. I really do try to let card designers design cards, and I try to experience cards. I like try to stick to that. I've never tried to make my own
cards
game
today. That's for sure.
I am. But like, what are you talking about? Isn't the risk reward or the kind of the joy in the strategic decision of this card that you can set it to do roll X or you can set it to do roll Y? You shouldn't get both. That's ridiculous. What are we doing?
We're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Is what we're playing.
Oh my god. I don't think I can separate my visceral hatred for this card into a rational ban analysis. I just can't.
Maybe you'll be signing some plush fire soon. I don't know if I can do it. I hope not, please. Not only is it a red card, all right, which I hate by nature in Magic. Oh, don't say that.
Rules infuriating. Okay. Okay. Oh,
people are gonna definitely make you sign it after you say that you hate it. It's even better.
Okay, I love this card. This card's great. Thank goodness
they're
we
still
had
gonna make
some
you sign it. It's not
talking
gonna
points
change it
today. Oh,
so is it banned?
I hope so. Let me think. I'm gonna try. I'm good. Rationally.
Now you understand how it works. That's a good start.
I think so. I think I understand. You pop it with the other card that eventually got restricted. It hits the extra deck. You get another thing. Now it's in your extra deck. You get to bring it back out when you play a different scale thing. For all I know, this might even tutor for the scale thing you need to bring it right back.
Well,
which would be
it gets another copy of itself. So
you have another now. How long till you have all three? Like the same turn, probably.
Yeah, it's Yu-Gi-Oh!
So this one card is 3 of itself while being materials that does other things too.
Pretty cool, huh?
Oh, it's great. All right. Let's just say they restricted it and never banned it because you know what? That's probably fine.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Oh, they banned the fuck out of this card.
Good.
Plush fire was crazy. Good. One thing you may have missed, CGB.
I'm sure I did.
The monster effect, conveniently, does not have a hard once per turn clause on it. The pendulum effect, for some reason, does, which you were rarely ever using that effect. You were more so abusing the fact that you could just keep destroying this card. So, like, a hypothetical scenario, right? You go Luster, Pendulum, Plush Fire. This is a very classic combo to basically make you win the game, essentially. Luster pops Plush Fire, so it goes to the extra deck. You then add another copy of Plush Fire to your hand, and the Plush Fire that's in the extra deck triggers special summoning a guy from the deck for free. If you have a way to complete your scale, this is a level 4, so you need something that's 3 or lower, because Luster would be a 5 if it's still in your scale. You play the scale. Now you can Pendulum summon out the Plush Fire you just added and the one that's in your extra deck and anything else. And let's just say there were other cards in this deck that could also pop Plush Fire when they're on the field. So then you get to trigger the effects again, and you just get to keep abusing this card into the sun. This card got banned. They eventually brought it back because Performage did receive some new support, and they did errata it. The monster effect now has a hard once per turn clause on it. So they learned from their mistake. But Pendulum entirely was a mistake, so they didn't learn from that, unfortunately.
Did they not want to restrict it because of the way that the card was already designed, and it would just kind of nuke that effect of the card?
I don't want to give you the full story yet, because I have one more Perform type card to show you, and then I will give you the full context here. Meet the Face of Fear.
Performable Monkey Board. Did the anime have this?
Oh, yeah.
People watch this? This is so...
Yep.
This is like...
The Performages and the Performapals, I am pretty sure were like the main character's archetype.
Did people quit the anime during this time?
Anyway.
This looks so stupid. Okay, anyway. Level 6, 1000 attack, 2400 defense, scale 1. Bell side is unless you have a performable card in your other Pendulum zone, this card's Pendulum scale becomes 4. During your main phase, if this card was activated this turn, you can add 1 level 4 or lower performable monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. If this card was activated this turn, what does that mean? Playing it in the... Because this text only matters... Should I finish the card first?
I'll let you know. You can. The more important effect is the Pendulum effect. But to answer your question, yes, you are correct. So the turn you activate this in the Pendulum scale is the only turn you're allowed to use this effect to add a level 4 lower performer pal from deck to hand. So if it's the following turn and Monkey Board's still there, you can't do that again. It's only the turn you play it down.
I guess the technical question I have is playing this down in the Pendulum zone, is that what constitutes activating it?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
However, it doesn't happen immediately, so you play Monkey Board. Your opponent has priority to, like, do something, and then if they pass priority back to you, you then activate Monkey Board like as a sorcery speed effect to get the other card to your hand.
So just the pendulum spell side is a tutor that replaces itself with upside of having a 1 scale set for you.
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, you can read the second effect. The first effect is what matters more here, but
sure, I'll read the second effect. You can discard this card, reveal 1 pendulum or odd eyes monster from your hand. If you do, reduce levels of the monster in your hand. Same blah blah blah. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's great.
It seldom comes up, so that's why I say focus on the pendulum effect.
So let's look around. So it has level 4. Its scale is 4 if you have nothing else in the zone. But during the main phase, when you played this, you can add a level 4 or lower performable monster from deck to hand. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a scale. It's just tutoring for some other performable. It has to be a performable monster level 4 or lower. So we need...
I have not shown you any. I will let you know there are Performapal scales that are level 6, 7, and 8. So you can make a very wide scale with this card.
It just builds your scale for you.
There you go. You're learning.
You have to worry about... Yeah, now you just don't have to worry about it, guys. Why?
That is
we put a restriction. Now there is none.
That is one of the big downsides of pendulum summoning, if you want to call it a downside, is that you basically have to commit 2 cards to zones that are functionally not doing anything, right? Like, unless it's monkey board and searching another card. But you're basically down 2 cards to give yourself this extremely powerful burst of power, right? So, monkey board basically circumvents that, essentially.
So, did they want to ban this?
Did they want to ban that cute face?
I hate this face. Did they want to ban this? I mean, it does basically take the, okay, like you said, we've got a restriction, but let's just obliterate it with this card. Why would we have a restriction in our game? That's stupid. Nobody
I will
likes
say this
that.
came a couple years after pendulum summoning existed in the game. So it wasn't like immediate, but it wasn't too long after the mechanic was around.
They were like, wow, our cool summoning mechanic that everybody loves isn't easy enough. Okay, sure, why not? So there's a few worlds there, right? Was pendulum summoning not keeping up and not competitive enough? They wanted it to be better? That seems unlikely. Or were they just trying to help it keep up with other busted things and accidentally introduce something that just completely took the guardrails off it and went too far? And I mean, it's also just like you can get the best one. It's whatever the best one is. It's not just you get a thing to complete your scale to like make your hand work perfectly. It's the best one.
And for context, not every, but most of the cards in your deck have the Performapal title. So you can get either the best scale, or if you already have the scale, you can get whatever the best thing in your deck is that isn't the scale. So
it's also your payoff.
I wouldn't say that necessarily, but it's a tutor for the archetype, if you will.
Well, it's never dead. That's for sure. It's not
fair.
A dead card.
Yeah, I mean, it can't search itself. There's that. Yu-Gi-Oh is very funny with that. A lot of cards built in, they're tutors, but they can't search themselves.
That's funny. Yeah,
it's rare to see that nowadays. Back in the day, that was not the case, and those cards got banned very quickly for obvious reasons.
We have a hard once per turn on the scale part.
Correct, you do.
That's usually a decent restriction. At least it can't tutor into tutor into tutor. But what if it goes and gets another card that then also tutors? I bet that's a thing.
Would you like me to show you a card?
God damn it, not really, but okay.
Let's show you this guy. This one, I'll help you out. You can just read the monster effect as well as the stats and everything.
Yep, it's an 1800 attack, and when this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 performable monster, magician pendulum monster, or odd eyes monster from your deck to your hand, except for this.
You talk about tutoring the tutor that gets the tutor. I'm just showing you the cards here.
You sure are. This one doesn't even have a once per turn.
It needs to be normal summons, so that's kind of like it's once per turn. But
it's a cheaty
there are
ways
ways to get extra normal summons, I will say. So it's not impossible, but.
And I'm supposed to figure out if this is more broken than everything else.
Ideally.
I mean, It feels like
with this one.
maybe it's yes, I think I am broken, because if everything's broken, nothing is broken, and you're looking for the little thing, the little grain that sets it over everything else. And looking at this, it's like, okay, if there really was a balance to this that this upset because now you just had all your pieces in one, that's definitely grounds for like getting rid of something if it's taking over a meta, if it's too prominent. So yeah, like restricting it, does that kind of fix it? I'm sure they just have more ways to tutor this somehow and still set the same things and then
Very
tutor
funny
this that
you
go
say
gets
that.
in this
Very
and gets
funny
another
you
thing.
say that.
So it's like the card's existence on its own removes a guardrail that was supposed to be there. Does that let the whole thing fly off the rails? I don't know. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! 2. Everything's busted. I don't see in this card alone like a loop that makes somebody win the game or keep the other player from playing the game immediately. I don't see it in this card alone. But all it needs is something to be printed that meets into the tutor chain that this creates and that any tutor for this creates to do that job. I would like it to be banned on the face alone. I'm not gonna lie. What the hell? It's a game. I'm already bad at it. Ban it. Ban this card. In the history of the game, if it's not banned today, probably someday. Why not? I'll be right in the future. I'll ban it.
You are looking at what is maybe a top 5 Yu-Gi-Oh deck of all time. This is known as PePe, Performage, because they do have different titles, so they obviously all can't search each other. But there's ways that they all connect together that makes it a lot easier. So as a result of this being one of the most powerful decks in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, when this first released in Asia, this was like the only deck people were playing because it was so good. Obviously, without the full context, it's kind of hard for you to like see what like it's actually doing. If it's similar to me showing you like a tier element match, I think it would make a lot more sense. But essentially, even through interruption, like hand traps and such, the PePe players would end their turn like +8 cards over their opponents. They would create a board that is basically insurmountable, which somehow in the mirror match, like you could actually somehow play through, believe it or not, which is insane. This was just one of the most, like, this was pushing Pendulum to its absolute limits at the time. And so these dumb motherfuckers, this, like, keyboard-ass looking monkey, this Joker, this ice cream cone, Luster was part of it, too, and Kirin was at one point as well. They had to emergency ban, like, 6 of the cards in this deck, like, 2 weeks after these cards got printed in the US. Because it was just so overwhelmingly dominant that nothing could keep up with it. And even after banning those cards, the deck was still the remnants of it. They figured out how to reconfigure it. It was still like the best deck you could be playing for a format, which is insane. So yeah, these cards are insanely broken. You figured it out with Monkey Board. It's a 1-card pendulum scale. And prior to this, I am pretty sure that did not exist. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But it was also part of like the best archetype in the game on top of it. Joker searches Monkey Board searches Joker. That just like the pluses on pluses of all the advantage you gain across from these cards are just insane. There's a couple I didn't even show you because I'm just trying to keep it simple, but absolutely ridiculous bonkers deck. And funny enough, Monkey Board actually, I think on the most recent ban list at the time of filming this, went back to 2 copies because we're just way back. We're way past the point of this deck actually being good, which is crazy to think for how powerful it is. But the plush fire errata helps a little bit, I will say.
But did this card get banned?
Monkey Board?
Uh-huh.
It did. It got banned.
Okay.
It was one of one of the 6 that got banned. You are correct.
Okay.
You are correct.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You can double check the VOD. I'm pretty sure you said 6 cards got banned, and I was just waiting for it.
I didn't say Monkey Board was one of them. Sorry. Yeah. Monkey Board got banned. Monkey Board got banned. Joker got banned. Plush Fire got banned. A couple others got banned as well, or limited or something. I don't remember the full extent of it, but it was a direct hit specifically for this deck because of how good it was. It was unbelievable. And again, this is pre-tier element, right? Like we've seen how crazy tier element is. This was like the tier element for its time, essentially. Like there was just nothing that could compete with it because it was that powerful. So yeah, you're learning about how broken pendulums are. And speaking of which, we're going to see how that factors in here.
Whoa, this card looks like it's from a whole different thing.
Yeah, you like dragons.
Crazy. I mean, I do like dragons. There's an earth Amorphage Goliath, and it's level 8. Yep. No defense. Apparently, that's not a deal breaker these days. 2,750 attack. Nobody's set in defense position these days, huh? Crazy. So the scale is 5, and it says the spell part is while you control an Amorphage monster, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, except for Amorphage cards. Once per turn during the standby phase, tribute one monster or destroy this card. Okay, so it's a little piece of graveyard hate. It's for both. It's kind of for both players, unless you have a lot of this type of card.
Yep, and for context, anything while this card is up that would go to the graveyard, that includes pendulums as well. They would get banished instead of going to the extra deck. So. Yep,
got it. Good. And once per turn during the standby phase, tribute one thing. So it has a cost. You got to pay the toll. Yep, and I assume that those things also don't go to the graveyard, so it's not free resources. That's nice. Neither player can special summon monsters from the extra deck except this type of monster. I guess the versatility is nice, but my first instinct is you're probably only playing the monster side if you already have the other side cooking.
I will help you out. The monster side is definitely a lot better than the pendulum side.
Oh, wait. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Because the monster side doesn't have a cost.
Neither player. Neither player can special summon from the extra deck except this kind of monster. So you can build around that restriction. You get this out, you can
and there are
shut
other
down the opponent's extra
Amorphages,
deck.
so it's not like he's not the only one.
Now, does zero defense mean like if they attack this in combat, it just dies to everything?
If you put it in defense, why you would, I don't know. Yes, but
okay.
you would want to have this in attack position.
And if this is an attack position and the opponent is attacking, do they go through your attacking position monsters? Or is that only your defense position monsters can block?
No, attack position. Everything is taunt, regardless of if it's an attack or defense. It has taunt.
That's what I thought. Okay, so you would need like a 2,800 or higher to take this out.
Or a card that switches Goliath to defense position, and then you can head over it with anything. So
nice.
We have those.
Very nice.
Those are common. Very common.
Okay.
One of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, I'll just quickly pull this up for you, just for all the Magic fans, because this card's actually a classic for anyone who remembers back in the day. Just give this a quick. This is a very simple card, very old card.
Book of Moon. Maybe I saw this one. It is a spell card. It says target one face-up monster, change the target to face-down defense position. Yep. And then
this card actually sees modern play
with
still.
Anything.
Yeah, this card still sees modern play, if you can believe that.
Maybe because of a card like this.
You're not wrong.
Okay. Immediately, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this seems like the good guy with all the shit that's going on.
Okay.
I'm like, please play this. Please play this so we just stop all this nonsense. Please make somebody play an honest game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For 1 minute until they kill
you call
this.
This honest Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay. All right.
I mean, at least they're
I
not
got a drink for that one.
At least they're not like boom, 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 like here's 15 things from the extra deck for 1 minute. You know what I mean? And I guess there is, if this is meta, there's tactics of, I don't know how easy it is, but you can run your own Amorphage monsters, including this. And if you had a way to special summon something from your extra deck generically, you could get those. But it appears to me that most special summons are very targeted. There's a certain type of thing with a certain type of summon.
Yeah, aside from Pendulum Summon, just basically ignoring all of them for the most part. But I would say generally.
I mean,
that was like sort of a double-edged sword of the mechanic, is that it allowed you to play a bunch of like random cards that may not have been playable prior to the mechanic existing, just because you could bring them out for free. Whether that's good or bad is up to you to decide, but it was like interesting at least.
Pendulum. So is Pendulum summoning counts as a special summoning? It's a type of special summoning? Okay. So this shuts that down
with Goliath out, they would not be able to special summon anything out of their extra deck Pendulum summoning that is not an Amorphage card.
Just Amorphages. And how popular are Amorphages? Are there a lot? Do they do a lot of different things? Or are they just a couple of key pieces?
like most cards I show you, they are an archetype. I will give you the context of typically you don't need to play the Amorphage deck to play Goliath. You can just splash this in other decks because as long as you have the pendulum scale of, 7 to 9 or anything in that range, as long as you can summon an 8, you can just bring Goliath out in any pendulum deck, right?
Or you can, and probably your last move, right?
Right, because then you do all your stuff first.
Army. Yep.
There you go. Now you're putting it together. Together.
Here's my big old splatter of stuff, and here's one that says you can't do the same thing to me.
Yep. You could also, if there's a card that just resurrect a dragon from your graveyard. He's a dragon, right? So you can bring him out. He's still a monster card at the end of the day. So, there's other ways to get him out onto the board. You don't have to play the Amorphages, obviously lend themselves to getting him out because the scales might work out better and such, but you don't have to. And that's the joy of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that we can splash everything together for better or for worse.
The joy of Yu-Gi-Oh! I love this. I love that this card is going to play police on all this BS, but then you do run into the problem where it's not just the police, it's also the problem. Do you want a game where the whole point is that you finish the turn with one of these and the opponent, by basically nature of going second, now can't just do the thing you did. They have to jump this hoop, then they get to do the thing.
And remember, it locks
toxic.
out the whole extra deck. It's not just their pendulum monsters. So
yeah,
they can't summon synchros, they can't summon Xyz. That whole mechanic is shut off with this guy.
I mean, is it doing what it was printed to do, or did they just not know what they were doing? I struggle with that. I really
say the
do,
latter,
because
personally.
They're printing all this insanely busted stuff, and then they print a card that says no. Do they really not just consider that this just means whoever goes first and is able to finish in the right spot is probably going to win?
I will plead the fifth on that one.
So I have to figure out if this got banned. Does restricting this fix it? I don't think so. I think everything's a tutor. You just go get one. You only need one. And then the opponent has to clear it without using any special summonings.
From the extra deck. They can still special summon normally. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, but it's still pretty big. And does anybody normal summon anymore? Is that still...
Yeah,
Jesus.
Everyone still uses their normal summon. The normal summon is very important, actually, as silly as it sounds.
I mean, is it a big enough hoop then? It's really hard for me to envision, right? Because in this area of Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm interested, all I think about are the chains. Is this just being a 2750 that doesn't have anything that says can't be targeted or anything like that? Does that mean that this looks like a toxic card, but in reality, in Magic, we say dies to Doomblade. They cast a spell, it's gone. In Yu-Gi-Oh, you play a monster, beat it to death, it's gone, and then you go about your business.
If it helps you out, I'll give you a bit of context here. A lot of people treat the extra deck as a toolbox, right? In the extra deck, you might have cards that your deck is designed to summon very consistently that will destroy a monster, that will destroy a back row, that will handle whatever threat is presented before you, right? In addition to having your powerful cards that they have to contend with, okay? So the dies to Doomblade argument, in your case, maybe players keep those types of effects in the extra deck since it's their command zone, right? They can always access them. So they don't play as many of those types of cards in the main deck. Now, I'm not saying they don't play cards like Book of Moon, like I showed you earlier, but if players know that they can always access their removal, in quotes, at any moment because they have the extra deck, they're less likely to play other cards that are going to have a redundant effect that they have to hope that they draw, if that makes sense.
Sure. But then this card becomes meta, and maybe you got sideboarding.
Right, so it's a teeter-totter, right?
Stuff.
It's a teeter-totter.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. You're being so helpful. Why would I? We're just having a good time. You're being so helpful on this one.
Maybe I'm just in a good mood. Don't know why.
Yeah.
Can't imagine why.
Dude, it makes me think the meta game of the game makes me think that this card is fine because you're being so helpful. You're giving me so much context that's steering in one direction. And then when I say it's fine, and you're obviously it's bad. I tried to tell you. I'm going to be yep, I'm an idiot. I still like this card. I think that I don't know why, but it does seem like the kind of piece that it looks toxic, but it's a skill check in some ways. And maybe I'm missing all the context, but it does feel, especially like with like you showed me Book of Moon, it's like there's gotta be, you gotta be able to deal, man. You gotta deal with this Goliath.
So it's fine. Final answer?
You know what? I'm in the history of the game, they probably banned it at some point just for a period of time without it, though. That's the problem with the Eternal format. Banned. So banned. It's so banned. I can tell it's banned. It's 100% banned.
This card's fine. You had it. You literally, that was your game. You clutched defeat from the jaws of victory. You literally had it, and you at the last second just left turned into the brick wall. Card's fine. So funny enough, not a ton of Pendulum decks would play this card. There's a very similar card I'll quickly show you here. If I can pull it up. Called Sloth. Sloth basically does the exact same thing. I'll quickly pull him up here so you can see. But it's a level 6. And being level 6 is a lot different than being level 8. Sure, its attack stat is lower, but it has the same monster effect. And this means it was a lot easier to Pendulum summon out as part of people's end boards. Or tribute it, because it's a 6-star. So you could just like tribute one of the things you Pendulum summoned out to get it out to the field. Now your opponent can't use the extra deck. So some decks actually played Goliath in their deck because they had ways to bin it to the graveyard and just resurrect it as part of like what their deck did. The Blue Eyes deck, as a matter of fact, because it's level 8, it's a dragon, had a lot of synergy. So they would actually play this card. Turns out, good card, but not good enough. I mean, in some instances it would win you the game, sure. But a lot of the times, the fact that it doesn't stop special summoning of all monsters, it's only stuff in the extra deck. Some decks just had things that were in their main deck that they could play that would either run this over or just destroy it because it has no protection. So it was annoying. Like, don't get me wrong, it's an annoying card, but never something like ban worthy. Totally fine. Never restricted, nothing. It was always at 3.
I knew you were being too helpful. I knew it.
Yeah, you said that and then you picked the wrong thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
We're coming to the end, CGB. We're coming to the end. This is the final test. Okay. Let's see how you've learned about Pendulum summoning. And brace yourself. If you want reasons people quit Yu-Gi-Oh, you're gonna stare at it right here.
Oh my god.
I don't think Magic would ever allow this much text on a card that is not as a joke.
Oh my god. What are you doing? Oh my god. Okay. Endymion. Endymion, yeah. Endymion. The Mighty Master of Magic. Level 7 Dark.
This is the last card. So you're at the finish line.
Oh, it better
strong.
be. I don't think I'm going to be able to read a word after this. 2800 attack, 1700 defense. Do the spell side. It's scale of 8. You can remove 6 spell counters from your field. Special summon this card from the Pendulum zone. Then count the number of cards you control that can have a spell counter. Destroy up to that many cards on the field. And if you do, place spell counters on this card, equal to the number of cards destroyed. You can only use this effect once per turn.
So for context, I don't think I've shown you any cards that use spell counters. If I have, I've shown you.
Not yet.
So spell counters are just a counter. You're familiar with counters in your game. Anytime a spell card is activated, either player, so you or your opponent, you can place a spell counter on a card that has the spell counter text on it. So only certain cards can have spell counters on them. Endymion is one because it's able to hold spell counters because it has the text on it. I think that's all you need to know about them. It's either you or your opponent. So like in any instance of any spell being activated, that would put a spell counter on a card like this. Also, activating a Pendulum monster as a spell card or a Pendulum scale counts as a spell card being activated, so that would also put a counter on this card. So hypothetically, if you like put Endymion in the scale, you put another card in the other scale, that would put a spell counter on Endymion.
Where's the part where it always gets a counter? Is it a specific type of spell that gets you these counters?
Any spell. Any spell card.
Any spell card.
Yep.
Okay. And spell card is one of the 3 types in Yu-Gi-Oh! And yes, the trap,
correct.
Spells, monsters. Okay.
Correct.
Zoom in. Once per turn, when a spell/trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can return 1 card you control with a spell counter to the hand. And if you do, negate the activation. And if you do, destroy it. Then you can place the same number of spell counters on this card that the returned card had. While this card has a spell counter, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. When this card with a spell counter is destroyed by battle, you can add one normal spell. What the hell is a normal spell? From your deck to your hand.
A normal spell is a sorcery. So it's not an instant, because remember, we have quick play spells, we have field spells. Instead of just making them different card types, they're all subtypes of spells. So a normal spell would just be a sorcery. So Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed is a normal spell card.
All right. So you can tutor up nerfed Pot of Greed. Cool. Or probably something more devastating or specific to your situation, or something that says win the game in some convoluted way. Okay.
Do you want to guess how many words are on this card's effect, by the way?
I mean, this is me looking. So I refuse to play the games with the giant jar of jelly beans. Guess how many are inside and you might win. I'm just like, I'd rather save the mental energy.
Sure. It's 181 for context.
Oh my God. I've typed research papers longer than this. Shorter than this, I should say. It likes spells. It likes spells a lot. But the pendulum monsters are spells when you want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Special summon this card and count the number of cards that have a spell counter. So if we set this as our level 8, then we need to get 6 things on the board with spell counters. And they get spell counters by being spells?
Or you can just pendulum it out. You can just ignore that effect altogether.
Oh. That's nice.
Yeah. So as long as you have a 6 or lower scale, if you let's say you have 2 Endymions, right? You could play 1 in the scale, play something that's 6 or lower, and just bring them out, and then activate a spell card. It gets a counter, and then now it's immune.
Oh, yeah. So you don't have to actually worry about the cost, the
it's
drawback.
Yu-Gi-Oh! We never have to. Yeah, here, I'll help you out. Here's another card.
Damn it. Okay.
I'll help you out. You can just read the pendulum effect of this one.
Servant of Endymion. Each time a spell card is activated, place 1 spell counter on this card. Okay, there are other ways to get spell counters. Place 1 spell counter on this card. When that spell resolves, you can remove 3 spell counters from this card and special summon both this card from your Pendulum zone and 1 monster from your deck with 1,000 or more attack that you can place a spell counter on. And if you do place 1 counter on each, what the? Why would it be 1,000 or more?
Because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Why not?
So it doesn't get itself?
It can't get itself. Yep, I told you. Yu-Gi-Oh's are anti-tutor for the tutor.
Why not 800 or less? What more? Each time a spell card is activated, place 1 counter on this card. When it resolves, you can remove 3. Okay, so now you can put this out as part of the scale, and then now you only need 3 spells to do the thing? Not only that, from your deck. To tutor it from your deck, and it comes with a counter. There's no chance to respond to that, right? It's already immune?
Correct. You would have to respond to the activation of Servant's effect to special summon, but once that resolves, it'll special summon her and the Mighty Master of Magic, and they will already have spell counters on them. So there's no window in between to respond to that.
Jesus Christ. I don't know what's more upsetting. The fact that it has that much text, or that much text you can just ignore. Okay, well, they built some hoops to jump through so that we can just you know what? If I get a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, I'm just going to take a Sharpie right to half the cards, so I don't even make the mistake of processing the parts that don't matter. It's just wasted effort, man. It's wasted energy that you're making me do. All right. Then you can place the same number of counters on this card. So once per turn, when a spell or trap or effect is activated, quick effect, and that's either turn, you can return 1 thing you control with a spell counter to hand, and if you do, you negate it and destroy it. Then you can place the same number of counters on the card, the number, so if it had 1 counter, another counter goes on this, so it just is never without a counter, and it can always use itself, is that right? No, it has to be a spell or a trap card, but it could be use another one of these, okay? Cannot target it with card effects.
He can bounce himself, though, too, if you wanted to.
Oh, great. Yeah, just in case something could almost happen to the indestructible, untargetable thing.
Yeah, and then you just pendulum summon him back out. It's great, right?
That's just also endless interaction. Oh, and it goes to the extra deck if anything happens to it, right? So you can... Yeah, okay, that's great. I hate it. I hate everything. I don't know how to express how much I hate this.
You are not alone, my friend.
What would make this not fine? Or no. What would make this okay?
I was about to say, that's the wrong question to be asking.
I'm so upside down, but we'll try that again. My brain is just all over. What would make this okay? You have a way to tutor it. It helps to play spell cards. A bunch of your pendulum cards are already spell cards when you need them to be. And it's basically built into the deck / mechanic thing that this does already, wants to be doing, that you have spell options. What would make this bad? If you couldn't put a counter on it or keep a counter on it. That seems highly unlikely. And then you even showed me a way to get it with a counter already on it, because that seems fine. And then even if this were vulnerable for a second and the opponent destroyed it, it just goes to the extra deck, ready to come back. Just like the mechanic is designed to do. Another copy of it actually provides a scale that then something 6 or below just immediately makes possible to get this again. It's even good in multiples, dude. In a number of ways, in multiple ways. What's your downside? Where's your downside?
Where's the downside? Where's the downside?
So what makes this okay? What kind of a game would have this be okay? A game that doesn't actually want to worry about interaction, a game that has, I don't know, AoEs, but this just kind of counters it because you can negate the opponent's trap card or spell card and destroy it. A game that ignores it completely and just somehow smashes through with larger things or does something more busted. That game could try to just overpower it. Now you're up against you're up against the quick effect on both turns. I can see why this was the turning point for Yu-Gi-Oh! 2. This looks like as Yu-Gi-Oh! 2 as it gets.
Oh, yeah. Keep in mind, there's other stuff I'm not showing you. I'm trying to pick the stuff that you can comprehend without context, so.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
I look out for you.
I
look out for you.
Yeah. You're trying to preserve me to farm me for more content. That's all.
Actually, that's true. That's very true.
You'll just break me at the very end. It's like when you're done with me, you'll finally destroy me completely. I have trouble picturing a game with this card. I just have trouble picturing a game that's fun with this card. Not only do you have to comprehend all of it, once you kind of get the flow of it, like this card just bodies new players into the ground. It's probably horribly miserable. And then once you get the flow of it, do you even want to play that game? Is it even fun? It doesn't even seem fun. Picturing a meta and a game where this is fine is very hard for me to do. And it does remind me of other Yu-Gi-Oh cards in a few ways, but it does seem to cross a line on just being busted in multiples. You could restrict it, but it just interacts with all the cards that are already in the mechanic, that are already 2 different optional cards in one, that already provide just endless value, it seems like. I don't think restricting it doesn't do it. They probably just tutor it up and it never goes away. If it's not banned, like there's been a number of cards you've shown me that got banned, but this reminds me of the one that I kind of liked as like a control card that got banned, except it seems worse. I can't remember the name of it. It's a shiny rainbowy thing. Kirin, the bouncing thing from Kirin, the looping, actually gave me a tougher reaction. This one I just don't even want to engage with. That's how much I hate it.
That's how a lot of people feel, CGP.
Okay, and I'm going to say on behalf of those people and myself, I'm just going to vote with my heart. My brain doesn't want to play anymore, so I'm going to vote with my heart. Please ban this card. Let me have faith that there can be a better way to do this. Just ban it, please. Please. Let's say this card is banned. Yes.
You have learned nothing, young grasshopper. This card's fine.
I was so afraid of that.
I guess I'll try to give you some more context here. Endymion's an extremely powerful card. Don't get me wrong. The targeting protection, the destruction protection, the fact that it just negates spells and traps. The ability to add a normal spell from deck to hand rarely comes up, but if it does, that's very good because there's very few effects in the game that actually let you do that, but it has to be killed by battle, so it's like it airs 2800 attack. It's just not likely for that to be the case very often. In any case, if you do pendulum summon it out, like say you place an 8 scale and a 6 or lower scale, and you pendulum summon out Endymion, it doesn't have a spell counter in that moment. The Servant, if you're summoning it off of the Servant, will give it a spell counter, so it immediately has the protection. But if you have to hard pendulum summon out Endymion, it doesn't have a spell counter. So there's a small window that you can interact with it to pop it before it does actually get that spell counter, if you will. I think when it comes to Endymion, Endymion's the payoff for the Endymion archetype, but the rest of the cards sort of like are more interactable, and this is like your big payoff that you want to play. And don't get me wrong, this card is, it reads like a crazy busted card. I don't like fret you for that in the slightest for thinking so. It's just like contextually with the rest of the deck, you always have to be like managing spell counters, which there's only like very few good spell counter cards at the end of the day. So that's an issue with it. There's other just like, the other cards are just kind of like whatever. They're like fine in the deck. And so there are ways to deal with Endymion, that even though it has the protection from targeting and destruction. So like it does have the Dice of Doomblade argument. Like I said, there's that window you can kill it as well if they have to do it the hard way to summon this out. But a lot of the deck sort of like centralizes around this and like a couple of other cards. And it's like, if your opponent has ways to interact with them, then it's like the rest of the deck is, it sort of like falls a bit short because it's sort of all in, if you will. And even with the pendulum summoning mechanic, it's just not enough. During its time, very powerful deck. I would say tier 1, maybe tier 1.5 at the worst. But as the game progressed, just kind of got power crept out because we just got better and better things, if you could believe that. So Endymion never got touched. Totally fine. Funny enough, Servant was actually limited to 1 copy.
Okay.
But Endymion is fine.
Okay. Sure. Why not? Why not, guys? I'm sure we can do better. Just wait till what they had in store.
I'm not going to say it wasn't like a annoying card to play against. Don't get me wrong. But out of everything else in Yu-Gi-Oh!, as wacky as it sounds, there's worse, which is sad to say. Sad to say.
I'm literally terrified for my future.
Oh, you don't have to wait for the future. Do you want me to end this on a lower note for you?
I'm supposed to say no, but it's like a car crash. I can't look away.
What if I told you they nerfed the pendulum summoning mechanic and you're looking at the nerfed version?
This is the nerfed version?
Yeah, this is the nerfed version. You believe that?
It was better?
Uh-huh. You want me to show you how?
I guess so.
This is what the game board looked like when Pendulum was first released. So the Pendulum scales didn't even occupy 2 of your spell and trap zones. They just had their own separate zones. So for decks that could play more back row in their Pendulum strategies, which there were several, you weren't restricted to only 3 zones anymore. You still had 5. So the Pendulum zones were just extra. I showed you the game board with the extra monster zone. I told you that when you Pendulum summon, you have to Pendulum summon only 1 monster to that extra monster zone. That didn't exist when Pendulum first was released, and so you could Pendulum summon as many things as you wanted from your extra deck to the monster zones with no restriction, aside from just needing to be in the actual Pendulum scales. You could see they were really trying to make this mechanic as broken as fucking possible to sell themselves some new cards, and it worked. It worked like hell. They changed it later on when we got another summoning mechanic, which I will show you in the future. That was when we changed to Master Rule 4. That introduced the extra monster zone, and the game board then changed so that they put the Pendulum zones in the spell and trap zones, the 1st and 5th, and you weren't able to just go crazy with Pendulum summoning and just summon everything all at once. Yeah, you've been seeing the nerfed version of this mechanic the entire time.
Oh my god.
How this game survived is beyond me.
They changed the entire rules of the game.
Yep.
Just, okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't know how you're... Yu-Gi-Oh players, I don't know what to say, man. Y'all are crazy.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
insane to endure this. You're insane.
We're a special breed. That is for certain. That is for certain. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all their continued support. So shouts to Shout1317, Tim00x3, MBT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Manhoban, Little Fadeleaf, Draconic, Brian Dancer of Class 7, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Flannel Daddy, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLapperty, Stolfin Amethyst, MBT canceled by community soon, canceled by all committees soon, canceled by all players soon, Wonder Waffle, MBT and Nimnims 1, Boxer Brief, Fueled Knight of Passion, Daniel Howell, Electrician of the Ice Barrier, Arco, and the Nova 129. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you next time.